Alright, so first of all, before we get into it, let's give a moment of silence to my long and luscious beard till we meet again in about a few months. Anyways, so this video is a little late, but I haven't had a chance to record it because for those of you who don't know, basically I got stuck in Richmond an extra night because I didn't check into my flight. Then from there, I had to completely change my travel arrangements as my friends drove up to Orlando and I was the only one who got stuck. So therefore, I had to change my flight to Fort Lauderdale instead of Orlando. And I don't live in Fort Lauderdale. I live in Fort Myers, which is about 2 hours away. However, my sister does live in Miami, which is basically like right by Fort Lauderdale. So I ended up just staying in Miami for the week, and it all kind of worked out because my mom was flying out of Miami the next day. So she just, 2 days, well, 2 days later, so she just brought the laptop and a few other things that I needed. So I basically been in Miami for the whole week, except for this Saturday or Sunday, no Saturday, where I actually went up to Orlando to judge the regional, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, just haven't had a chance to really record this video. So basically, this is the list I took to Richmond. Honestly, no exact complaints for the list. I think the list performed pretty optimally. I just think I personally misplayed a few times, and that is what caused every single one of my losses. However, the side deck was questionable. I don't. I stand by it, knowing that Infernoble like went pretty far, and this side deck is great versus Infernoble. It's also decent into Manadium. But for example, Lancia was basically for Rescue Ace, and the thing is, I was expecting a lot of Ricardetto and Jet Synchron Lancia, and it looks like the Santoli list with the Firewall is the actual prominent version, which Lancia still hits if they only open Airlifter, but if they open both engines, then it stops them from going Firewall combo, but they're still getting the set 4, and the whole idea was hopefully Lancia would stop the set 4, which in the other versions it kind of does. In that version though, what happens is if they open both engines, then they don't have anything like they're going to get Hydrant off of Sinful Spoils, so they don't need to use Hydrant off Emergency, so they're gonna get Turbulence off Emergency, and still set 4. You limit their combo. They don't end on Preventer and they don't end on Firewall, which is like 3 less interruptions. But I mean, you're still down a card, so it could be worth it, could be not. You guys can determine that yourselves. Everything else though, Ashes are also honestly like the main thing I like about this side deck. Funny enough, because into Rescue Ace they're really good, into Branded Chimera they're really good, and those actually are the worst two matchups I have. Went to PPG on Friday, managed to get into Top Cut, won my first match in Top Cut, and that was where we split. Ash put in a lot of work as I played against Branded Chimera, and that was one in Top Cut, and that is my worst matchup. So I was able to barely scratch that win off, and Ash did put in that work. DD Crow was my least favorite card in the side deck. Definitely cutting it. I sided in into Pearly. Didn't do enough. I won the match. No, sorry, I lied. I sided into Pearly Sprite, and to be fair, I didn't see it. I did see Droll, however, and Droll hurt them pretty well. But to be honest, I was winning that anyways. I won game 1 even though I shouldn't have. Like, it was not in my favor. And then I was gonna win game 2 no matter what, whether I had Droll or not. But Droll helped a lot. Phantasme, as much as I love this card, this format, it is kind of like mid. It's really good into Unchained, but I have, especially with this list right here, I have a pretty good matchup into Unchained regardless. Therefore, it's not that necessary. You can side it into Rescue Ace, but it's not like it's good, but it's just not really stopping them. So depending on what variant they're on, like it might not be might not be useful. But you could set it in. And then finally, it actually cost me a game. Well, I don't know if I would have won that game either way, but basically the last loss, To be fair, I spoke to several Canadian players, including Gio Gonzalez, and there was no reason why Thrust going first should have been in that guy's. Like he cited it in, which to be honest, I don't agree with. But I mean, I guess like because he wasn't even. I asked him, and he wasn't even like thinking about Bistios or whatnot. He was just like, "Oh, if you hand trap me, I set imperm." I'm like, "What?" Like if we're talking about like I'm playing Pearly, or even if you want to side D barrier into me because D barrier is a decent card into me. If that's your logic, then I'm like, okay, cool. You sided Thrust to D barrier me. That's fine. I agree with that logic. There was no D barriers in his side deck, or at least that he did not side D barrier against me. So honestly, the Thrust being in there, like I don't understand logic at all. But it he did get to thrust into talents into me, and I know Phantasme into Manadium is a questionable thing. The idea was I wanted to see Droll, or Lancia. Lancia hurts them a little bit, but I really wanted to see Droll. So the thing is, they go Chainlink 1, um, Lightheart. I go Chainlink 2, Phantasme. Phantasme resolves first. I draw a Droll. They search, and then I drop Droll at the resolution, and theoretically I win there. Um, I mean, I didn't see Droll, so that was the problem. And then they thrusted talent and saw my hand, and I got cooked. To be fair, I should have won game one, so I didn't because I'm dumb. I'm gonna go into my losses now. But before that, I do want to speak about the actual event, the venue, and everything. The city, I liked it. It was nice. The downtown area near the convention center had a lot of good hotels. Had a lot of good restaurants. We went to this one Mexican place the first day. It was amazing. It was like a lot of us, like 15 deep, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. The hotel we stayed out, shout out to Lana, was super cheap and it had so much stuff. So honestly, I really enjoyed it. Would go back. My only bad experience in Richmond was the whole like airplane thing, airport thing. But whatever, that happens. The venue itself was not as big or clean or nice as Indies, but it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. And as for the tournament and its results, so a lot of the things I said I hit on the nail. Like Vanadium did not have as good as a conversion rate because, like I said, like one, the deck takes skill. Two, the people were more prepared for it. People were making draws, and that really hurts the deck, obviously. And so it takes a really, really good pilot to be able to pilot around that stuff. The biggest surprise factor to me was Infernoble. I didn't expect Infernoble to do as well as it did. I mean, no one was really playing Infernoble at Indy, so it definitely caught me off guard. I'm happy that it did so well, despite the controversy with the pack stuff, but that's a whole different thing. Not gonna give my opinion on that, but I will just say that sometimes you make illegal plays on accident. That's all I'm saying. And I knew the Infernoble deck pretty well as one of my friends, Sergio, shout out to him, plays it a lot. It's a really good deck. Obviously, this was with the Sinful Swell stuff, which was made it a little bit different. But yeah, I think it's a valid deck, and therefore, like I'm glad. I wish I would have played against it, because sometimes like I have a replay from yesterday that I will be posting where sometimes you get lucky and you can easily you not easily, but you can break the board with this deck as you have a lot of monster effects, and the way they're setting up their board right now is mainly spell and trap negates. And then aside from that, all these hand traps. But anyways, um, the coolest thing was it was another mirror match finals, but it was not the same deck. Last time it was Rescue Ace. This time it was Unchained. Just showing how wide and diverse the format is, which to me personally, even though I am a competitive player who's trying to, get a YCS top or whatnot, I love wide formats. So that's great. I think it was very, very, very fun to see that. I only deck that I played twice was Rescue Ace. So I think that's good. That's healthy for the format. I like that, and I think it's gonna be interesting to see how the format develops. Unfortunately, there aren't any major events for a while now, and we should have a ban list before the next YCS. So that sucks. But regionals are still a thing and whatnot, so that'll be interesting to see as how it develops. And yeah, right now I really can't say there's a best deck. Like I really think it's a toss up between the five best decks, and I think any of the decks can take it. We saw Pearly get into top eight, I think. Inferno over the top four. There's a lot of variety. So going into my personal losses, my first loss was to Rescue Ace after having already beat a Rescue Ace player 2-0 the turn before, or the round before. To be honest, guys, I have a thing where I get nervous the more, like, if I'm winning at a YCS for some reason because I'm dumb. And I also get nervous, like, for some reason, or not nervous, but like just blank out after like really long judge calls, especially if they have an appeal. And both of those things basically happened to me. So round three, I was 2-0, which isn't even that like high up, but I don't know. I got in my head. I was like, oh come on, this is my time, blah 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 blah. And I got super super nervous. Game one, he bricked and I OTK'd, which seems to be a tendency. Like I was talking about this with some friends yesterday. The thing is, the deck is super consistent because it has like 19 starters, but it also has like 21 cards in the deck that don't actually advance the game state necessarily on their own, and a lot of combination of those can lead to brick hands. Like I'm not saying it's a bricky deck per se, but it can brick for sure. Same thing happens with Unchained. So right now, honestly, like if it was a YCS tomorrow, I'd probably still take PK just because aside from the comfort I have with the deck, it doesn't really brick. Like it's very very rare. You have to draw a lot of non-engine for it to brick, and I think like it still has it doesn't have many hands that pass on one hand trap. Like literally yesterday I played through, it was three hand traps. It was Ash, Valor, and Imperm, and I still ended on IP, Fogblade, um, and I had two cards in hand and hella follow up in graveyard. So it was three interruptions basically, and hella follow up, which my opponent was on three cards. So I think the deck is pretty good at playing through hand traps. Whereas like Rescue Ace, I heard other Rescue Ace players even say like, oh yeah, a lot of hands just pass on Ash. Not all the hands. Obviously, if you draw both engines or multiple things, you're able to play through that, and you can go crazy. But my point being here is that yes, I play PK because I love PK, but I also play PK because I do feel like it's one of the decks that's going to give me the most chance, especially in this wide of a format. I feel like play what's comfortable to you as opposed to what's like supposedly good. Because Infernoble was not supposedly good, and yet it had multiple placings in top cut, and things like that. So they didn't, and salad topped the event. So yeah, guys, like play what you think you can perform the best with, and actually manipulate the deck as well. And if you can have a deck that just doesn't brick, that or usually doesn't brick, that's really important. Anyways, so my first loss was to Rescue Ace. Basically, game one, I was able to go ahead and OTK them after they bricked. All they did was ask me, so I didn't know what they were on. Game two, they went first. They Dweller me and Step 4 Turbulence. I had my hand was Droplet, Book of Moon, um, Right, Illegal Knight. That's four. Rhoda and Cloak. That was my hand. So I chained Book to the Dweller, targeting the Turbulence, and then chain Droplet, sending the Book. Um, if this had been a Water Enchantress, maybe I would have just chained the Droplet, sending Water and Cloak, and maintained the Book for later, which would have helped. Maybe I could have done something different, but I think that was the only way I could have done that. Following that, I went Brave Engine, and then the player tried to extinguish my token, which they cannot because extinguish does say um, a effect monster. So I pointed that out. That did reveal the location of Distinguish, which at a competitive event we are using that information. So I did Draco back, bounce that, um, and I summoned the Legal Knight, searched Draco back, bounce that. Here's where I like pseudo where I started misplaying. I searched Griffin off of the Faithful, discarded the Draco bag, and then bounced that. And then after that, I summoned Griffin. That's all correct. Holding Griffin in hand till after Extinguish gets bounced, because if they do target Illegal Knight with Extinguish, you chain Illegal Knight, and you attempt to bounce two more, which is gonna just force out contain. So they didn't do that. They allowed the extinguish to go back to hand. Then I summoned Griffin, and my misplay there is I should have gone straight battle. Instead, I did illegal night effect for no reason. I've already like told myself, like, obviously, like with the illegal night against rescue ace, you have to let them make the first move. If you make the first move, you're losing. But I was super nervous. You know, I had like a ball in my throat. I was super nervous. I don't know why, even though I was up one. Um, and then yeah, if I had gone battle directly, that forces emergency, which then I chain Griffin. Then they could either chain contain, or if they had one unknown, which if it's imperm, they can use imperm. Um, and then basically from there, like if they do have it, then illegal night. If they do chain contain, then illegal night chain target hydrant and something and the probably the turbulence or the unknown in that scenario if they do contain and the unknown they need to have another rescue ace monster in order to prevent her. So the preventer would have been dead. So if they have an imperm, they imperm there, and then if they imperm there, then we can actually just go next phase, go into dark, and then go into SP, and then use the two level threes in the hand to play. Unfortunately, we did not do that. We started with Legal Knight and we lost. Game three, I played through two hand drafts, but honestly, I misplayed heavily as well. I he had a he had a preventer on field off of impulse in my turn zero, and there was nothing banished, so I don't know why I felt the need to SP it. I should have break sorted it. I would have had an extra interruption through break sword. I had a few plays that I don't remember that one as well, but I know I got so nervous after losing that game that I honestly just threw the last game, and you know it is what it is. Then the next loss was against Fluanderies. Basically, I went first. I set up board. I passed turn. The first card they used was Extravagance, and I don't know about you guys, but that's a +1. We negate that. Obviously that tells me they're on a like probably a slower deck or dinos. If they're on an aggressive deck, it's dinos. If not, they're on like labyrinth or birds. My first thought was labyrinth, though. To be honest, that was my first thought. Then they went prosperity and explain to me how off prosperity they only hit generic stuff. Like they hit double evenly. I think a duality and a I don't know if it was a duality. I know it was another extravagance, and then I don't know what else. I don't remember, but I know that the deck wasn't revealed. They grabbed evenly, and then they go battle. They evenly me, and so here's the misplay before getting nervous. And this one is not necessarily a misplay. Like it's a good play. It's a good play against a more aggressive deck where you know one interruption won't stop them. But as one of my friends pointed out, obviously based on the cards I've seen so far, we can assume they're playing a slower deck with a much smaller ceiling, and one interruption might just be enough. So my board had been Time Thief, Token, obviously Griffin that had already been used, Bardiche, SP. I did a hard make SP, and two Fog Blades. And so what I actually did was I went evenly. I went Chainlink 2 SP, target SP and Bardiche, Chainlink 3 Time Thief, and then Chainlink 4 and 5 two Fog Blades targeting Bardiche. The way this works is now these two Fog Blades resolve. Then SP will resolve, well, Time Thief first, but then SP will banish Bardiche. These two will no longer have a target. They'll fall off before evenly resolves, and then evenly will resolve. All I had on board at that point was a Faithful and a Token. We banish face down to the Faithful. We keep the Token because we have to. And then we have now Token on board with two Fog Blades in graveyard for follow-up, SP and Bardiche and Time Thief all coming back, which is a lot. And honestly, until like a deck like Rescue Ace, where one Fog Blade specifically was probably not going to stop them, we live with that. Unfortunately, I should have predicted birds. I really should have. Based on the card sequences, I should have assumed birds, and at least put it into consideration. And obviously, M Pen. We have a little bit of a problem with these cards. They don't really do anything against M Pen. So one Fog Blade stopping their play would have been nice. So the way I keep the interruption is by sacrificing SP. So I go SP, target Bardiche, and target token. Token gets perma banished because it's a token. Bardiche will come back. I lose SP. I do the same thing with the fog blade. So I like one of the fog blade goes to the graveyard, and then the other one is what I keep. So I start off the next turn with, or at least the end phase, with Time Thief, Bardiche, one fog blade in graveyard, and then throughout the turn I would have had one fog blade interrupt, which in this scenario actually would have stopped them because their hand, from what I remember, they had extravagance, it got negated, prosperity into evenly. That's 4 cards left. Then they went duality. They grabbed Robina. They had the continuous spell, and then they had 2 other cards, but they weren't advent. Neither of the cards were advent. I don't remember if they were field spell or not, but they weren't advent. I remember that, which means I can just let them climb up into M pen and then fog blade the M pen. Unfortunately, I didn't do that, so R.I.P. Then what happened was basically the judge call was the guy was saying that my fog blades would not fall off; they would get banished by evenly, which is not true. First judge comes, he agrees with me, then he appeals, calls head judge. Head judge comes, and I've never seen an assistant head judge, to be specific. I've never seen an assistant head judge be so erratic. No shade, but he asked the situation, and then he was like, we resolve continuous effects at the end of the chain, which I was like, nani? That's not how that works. And then he was like, you know what? Good question. Leaves and then comes back, and then he goes, oh, when you're resolving evenly, they all get banished simultaneously. You don't choose which cards get banished first. And I'm like, are you like on the same like judge call? Like, are you paying attention to what I'm saying? Like, they're not getting banished off evenly. They're getting banished off the SP is what's removing Bardiche. And he's like, oh, SP is removing Bardiche. So I'm like, how are you like? Are you with us? Are you with us right now? And so he did rule in my favor, obviously. But that point, like, I just blank out. I don't know why I blank out after those situations. But anyways, resolved how I wanted. I fog blade brought back torn scales, and then torn scales brought back torn scales. So I started with 2 torn scales. And at that point, I made a few mistakes from there. For mainly being, I didn't use Torn Scales effect. Like, I don't understand why I didn't use Torn Scales effect. I just didn't. I just straight up XC'd. And I threatened in battle first, hoping he would Dreaming Town. He didn't Dreaming Town. I had to swing over stuff. Then I went XYZ into something without using Torn Scales effect. Then he Dreaming Town, flipped it, and then I just lost because I'm just bad. Like, I don't know what else to say. And then the final match that I lost was versus Vanadium. So what threw me off is all the Vanadium players that I've been playing against, they've been ending on SP instead of Apo. This guy ended on Apo, which threw me off. And then I'm just dumb. Like, I'm actually just dumb. So my hand, let's go quickly into a duel room. Solo mode. So I remember my hand, and the funny thing is, like after the duel, I was blaming it on the thrust thing, where I was like, oh, he's so bad, he's good because he had thrust going first, even though there's no reason to have cited that, because if I didn't phantasma him, it would have been ass. But honestly, that's a stupid excuse. I shouldn't use that as an excuse, especially knowing now that I threw this hard. So wielder. Alright. So I know I drew into Shushinoko Return. What was the last card? I think it was that. Yeah, so this was the hand perfect. I drew into Shushinoko Return. And so his board was Apo, Baron, Bestial Dispatter, Counter Trap, and I think there was like a floating monster or something. So first and foremost, I was like, oh, I just can't break this board. Like that was my first thought, and I'm dumb. I'm super dumb because I definitely had the chance of breaking the board. Oh no, wait, one of these cards was droplets. Yeah, I'm assuming it was this. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that should be correct. Anyways, so what I did was I just like assumed I was gonna lose anyways, but I wanted to see what I drew, so I started with this, ended up discarding this, and I drew into the third water. And then yeah, from there I pretty much lost. I mean, I summoned the Shishinoko, I normal summoned water, I went for a Zeus line, and then he didn't even counter trap the Zeus. He appled it or baroned it. He appled the Zeus, which I think is just bad. Um, and oh, he had a Fenrir. That was his last thing. He had Fenrir. Yeah, yeah. It was Fenrir, Baron, Bissell, Dispatter, Appo, counter trap, and then I don't know if he had a Visas or not to actually destroy the counter trap. So like crazy board. Let's start off with that. Like that board is insane. That's not even like if you guys saw the video versus me versus Vanadium, that's not the board they have they should end on. But whatever. So I went to Zeus line here and he didn't counter trap, which to me was hilarious because I'm like, bro, if I had a trap card in my hand, like I play 5 trap cards. If I had a trap card, I would just chain this and he would just cry. But it is what it is. I didn't have a trap card, so it sucks. But what I should have done, regardless of everything, is this should be on top. Hand. Trying to see if I remember the play completely, and my computer's dying. 1 second, guys. Whoop. Only thing that upsets me here is that should have been a called by. I mean, that callback should have been like a Book of Moon or Talents, but whatever. Like in the future list. But anyways, so what I should have done is I should have gone normal summon, special summon, overlay, make break sword, effect, threat in the Apple. Apple will negate because that if not like that's dumb. Like you definitely negate that. Which I probably would have set this and targeted this instead, as this does nothing. And I just in case he doesn't negate that, I don't want to lose my break sword here because I have no PK names. So we target the call by you Apple for sure because there's no reason not to Apple. Then we go battle. We swing over that Apple. Then we go main phase 2. We go downward Zeus. We don't even have to go downward. We could because there's only one wipe anyways. So we might just go Zeus directly. Here we use Zeus effect. Theoretically, they should negate this with counter trap. Because if I have droplets, they cry, right? If they do negate it with counter trap, I don't think they have the body to destroy. Even if they do, that's fine. And then after that, we just resolve the droplets. We still have this. We'll still get a 3 on board. So we'll be all right. If they don't negate with counter trap though, they negate with Baron. That sucks because then when I do this, I'm going to only send the Zeus because it's going to get negated by counter trap. So they go negate Baron, go that, and then it's still probably a lose situation. But at least there, if they did negate with counter trap, then we're in a better situation because we still have the potential to get the two level 3s. We can still try to get it right. You know, there's plays. There would definitely plays there. But yeah, and then game 2, I bodied. I actually did this nasty play against him where I had Bardiche, SP, and Time Thief on board, and Time Thief on board. And then I had a Break Sword in the graveyard with a Fog Blade, and literally he goes droplets for 2, and I just banish, target the Break Sword to attempt to summon, even though he had nothing on board. So it was, he harped my back row, by the way. I had set 3 with this, and then he harpy back row, as he's insane. Harpy back row for 3, then droplet sending 2, didn't chain to harpies for God knows what reason. I target Break Sword, I knew he was going to be Bestial it, I just knew it, I had it in feeling my gut. So he goes Bestial, I had a trap card on Time Thief by the way, he Bestials, I chain SP, banish these 2, this gets banished. Then his last card in hand was Riem Heart, normal Riem Heart, search Meek, declare Time Thief to put Riem Heart on the top of the deck. He's like, oh, droplet. I'm like, nope, I only had 1 monster, you sent 2, and he literally just lost. So yeah, guys, I honestly like that interaction showed me that I was definitely like better than him, but I unfortunately just misplayed, and it is what it is. Hopefully in the next event we know we won't misplay as much. May or may not be playing this deck depending on how the format shapes up, ban list, whatever and whatnot. But we'll see what happens. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Catch you guys next time.